Well, the current president, Biden, is lagging behind former President Trump in critical battleground states. But apparently, he's in denial. A new Axios report claims that Biden and his close advisors sincerely don't believe the negative numbers. Now, they claim public polling, just doesn't reflect his true support with voters. The White House even trying to blame the Russia war against Ukraine and the pandemic.
I know you don't like to talk about polls like the 5 of 6 swing states that he is losing right now to somebody who is a criminal defendant. But more broadly, it doesn't seem like anything you guys are doing is making him more popular. Why do you think that is?
We understand. We are sensitive enough and open-minded enough to understand that this is, that not just this country, but globally, people have had to deal with a pandemic. And coming out of that pandemic, we understand that even, you think about gas prices, and because of Putin's war, what that has occured, that led to gas prices increasing. And the president had a lot to deal with when he walked in.
Oh, Kaylee. I give her a D- on that one.
Yeah, that wasn't great. Not surprised. Look, Biden's not believing the polls. He complained to a CNN anchor, how many people are you guys polling? Well, I just checked. They polled over 1,200 people to be statistically relevant. So maybe he should take a quantitative methods class to understand how polling works. But then he went on to say, while the press doesn't write about it, the momentum is clearly in our favor. Why would the press write that you have momentum when in the New York Times poll, Trump's beating you in 5 out of 6 states? When in the Bloomberg poll, he's beating you in 6 out of 7 states. Why would they write that you have clear momentum? That would be lying. But he can continue to not believe the polls. And he pushes, I'm winning among likely voters. That is true in some polls. But even in the swing state poll in the New York Times, Trump is winning 5 of 6 states. So get better polls, you'll get better headlines.
And the question Peter asked was so apt, which was, nothing you're doing is moving that needle. Nothing you're doing is changing the polls. So they're not even taking a look in the mirror. They're saying, we don't believe it to begin with. Are they going to believe what the ballots reflect in November then?
I mean, he's tone deaf. That's the bottom line.
Well, and what the ballots have reflected on a different issue, but the same result in places like Minnesota and Michigan and 15 other states or more, the uncommitted, the uninstructed. I mean, people are telling him that he's not their flavor right now. And a host of different issues. I don't want to make Minnesota's about this because we know that uncommitted vote was mainly about his policies toward Israel. And then he does a flip-flop today. He goes for, I'm going to withhold weapons from Israel if they, invade Rafah, if they go in there with their ground invasion. And then today gave them $1 billion worth of weapons. I mean, he doesn't know what his foreign policy is. And he wants voters to be able to decipher with a decoder ring what the heck he's talking about when he tries to explain it. It's inconceivable that the polls wouldn't be bad. I'm surprised he gets 20 or 30% sometimes. I'm like, well, what are they looking at? Are they buying food? How's he doing so well with all those people against him? Why isn't it 99% or whatever? But at the end of the day, for him, and I say this quite clearly, he better mean that he's going to do these debates. He better mean that, because he's got a lot to answer for, and whoever moderates that, let them talk. Let them actually debate. I'm so sick of this where people get up there and they ask their, I've got my 15 questions and I'm going to... No. We need to see these guys go head to head here. One wants to take them out. What did he say? Out back? Biden did? Last time around? I mean, if that stuff's going down, America needs to see him answer for where he's gotten us. 1.4 inflation rate, 1.4%. when he came into office, and then it popped almost 9.
And we shouldn't be surprised that he's so out of touch with the American people, because if you look at someone like President Biden, he has been in the public eye for 50 years. When he was first elected, when he became senator, he was my age. He was 30 years old.
Okay, now I heard.
He was one of the youngest elected senators in our nation's history, actually. Yeah. He has not been a normal person going to the grocery store, buying groceries, trying to make ends meet. He honestly does not have any clue what it's like for Americans because he hasn't lived it. And he's created this echo chamber of all these consultants and media people and all these folks and advisors who just tell him what he wants to hear instead of telling him the lived reality of Americans right now. And when you create that for yourself, of course he's out of touch. He's like, well, how could people not love me? Things are going great, because he doesn't understand what it's actually like.
That's a great point. His insular nature has infected his entire administration. So we're never going to get acknowledgement or empathy, even if he's incapable. Clearly, no one else will have the bravery to stand up and say the obvious.
Joe Biden has lied twice in less than a week in interviews with Aaron Burnett and some dude on Yahoo Finance that inflation was at 9% when he took office. And neither one of them pushed back. What is more astonishing? It's not the polls. It's that Biden and company have never course corrected when the polls got bad. And it's not that just that he's unpopular, but his policies are provably horrible for the American people. Every single thing, Brian Riedel wrote this, economist and economics writer, every single policy coming out of Joe Biden has, from runaway spending, student loan bailouts, to tariffs, to new housing subsidies, which is what he's talking about, is inflationary. It is the #1 issue for Americans. It's running at 4% annualized over the last 3 months, over the last 6 months. Everything they do causes more inflation, which makes the job of the Federal Reserve that much harder. They're going to have to keep rates high, make it impossible for anyone to buy a home in this country. They are a bunch of, I'm not going to say it because
we're imagining.
No, I don't want to be.
I was on the edge of my seat here.
I don't want to be. You know, I don't want to castigate Kamala Harris for cursing when I'm about to do the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the president is an anvil on everyone's leg as we are trying to swim through the peanut butter of the environment he's created. Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.